the editor of Bee Culture magazine. He told me, and they told me, devote a portion of your property, if you can, to growing annual and perennial plants that bloom consecutively over the whole season. That honeybees are collecting nectar and pollen for food. Reduce the pesticides of all kinds to a minimum. So important. And I never is an absolute word, but I never use pesticides because of my two Brittany's and cats. In the summer we get all sorts of things, wasp and oh gosh, what else do we get here in Tahoe? But just lots of nasty bugs. And my brother will still use pesticides in the back house, and I freak because I will not, we don't get fleas in Tahoe, thank God, but I just don't use pesticides because of my pets. So if I'm afraid for my pets, can you imagine what they do to the little honeybee? So don't even use pesticides, or to a minimum. And in areas with extended dry periods, supply fresh water in a way so that visiting bees don't become a nuisance. Also, what's interesting is bees can be a nuisance. I mean, if you have children, or even if you could be allergic to getting stung by a bee. However, bees won't sting you unless they feel threatened, and then they will. But if you happen to get a colony nestled at your home outside, like in a crevice in your home, outside on outside of the house.
Right.
Instead of trying to deal with it yourself, call somebody, a beekeeper that knows, or a bee removal service that knows how to do this properly.
But they don't hurt the bees, do they?
Exactly, that they can do it gently, and they'll take the bees away in a humane way. You don't want to try and kill a whole colony yourself. In fact, just recently in the news, some man, he was renovating an older home, and he tried to do that, and it backfired, and I believe he died. The bees all stung him, and he died from that. So you don't want to put yourself in danger of getting stung, because the bees will feel threatened, and they'll try and save their queen. You want to contact the right person to help you do it. It's the same thing here. I remember we had raccoons in my fireplace one summer. Can you believe it? A mother raccoon and her 3 babies. Talk about being scared. My God, I was writing another book. I think I was writing The Healing Powers of Chocolate at the time, and I was very engrossed in my work and my study. And I would come out into the living room, and I would hear like a hissing sound, and I thought, you're working too hard. And I kept ignoring it. It was almost like a scene out of that classic film, Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds, where she, what was her, Marnie? What's her name?
I can't either. God help us all.
The beautiful blonde. What's her name? She's in Hollywood. I can't think of her name. Senior moment.
All right. It'll
anyway,
come back.
She goes to the fireplace, and because she thinks the birds could be in there, and the audience is thinking, no, and then she opens up the, I don't know, some sort of door, and all the birds fly out and get her. And I kind of feel like I was like that with this fireplace, because I have I have the screen in front of the fireplace, and I opened it just wanting to see what's really in there. And oh my God, I had 4 feral raccoons hissing at me, scary. I called the fire department, they would not touch it. I called the police department, they would not touch it. It took me 3 days to find the raccoon man to come and get these guys out safely, one by one. It took him hours to do it, and he broke out.
How did they do it?
He took I believe he took the mother out first, and that was really difficult.
I'll bet she was mad.
Oh, yeah. And he put her next door, and she climbed up on the chimney of the next door house, and then one by one, he took the babies out, and he put them in the garbage can and put a lid on it, but not tightly. And at night, I watched her. She took one baby at a time, and she relocated. And then we put something in our chimney, a mesh wiring, so they couldn't come down the chimney again.
What are they doing in the chimney to get warm?
Yeah, because they were living in the fireplace. Right.
Poor thing.
Right, and then she would go out at night and then bring back food to them. But, yeah, I wanted to do a children's book on that story.
That's a great story.
It is.
You need to
really
do it.
Was. I know. Can't you just see it?
I can.
And it's a nice lesson for children growing up. You don't, these animals were here before us.
Indeed.
And you don't want to kill them. And people that live in Tahoe and other rural areas, they know. You don't want to shoot these and kill them, or the bears. They were here first. It's not fair. You want to get them away so we're not in danger, but get them away and safely. And it's a big deal in Tahoe, with the bears too. And bears, remember Winnie the Pooh who loved honey, back to honey.
I have clients in Tahoe, and I remember coming up 2 years ago and seeing bears just walking around.
Right. They can do that. The only bear that I saw, we live at lake level, and we don't see a lot of bears here, but I do predict earthquakes. And back in 2007, I believe, October 30th, Alum Rock Park, 200 miles south from us in San Jose, had a 5.6 quake that was felt all the way up here into Reno. And 1 week prior, I saw a bear out in our front yard, and there was a crowd of people, and my dogs, my two Britneys, were going bonkers. And I was in my research mode again in the study, and I came out, opened the door, and I said, "What is going on? You're interrupting the reclusive author here." And all these people, locals and tourists, were saying, there's a bear. And it's so funny. I said, oh, my God. And here I made this announcement to these people. I said, guess what, folks? There's going to be an earthquake either here at Tahoe or in the Bay Area within the next week. And they're all looking at me like I'm nuts. But I already had a forecast in the works for a quake, and I based it on abnormal animal behavior, because at the time my cat was acting out, being extremely vocal. My indoor kitty was just meowing up a storm and pacing, and my dogs were being very aggressive and very agitated and restless, which normally they're not. And this bear that was it. That was the last thing. And we were having also foreshocks in the Alum Rock, San Jose area, and like clockwork, that quake happened. And we predicted it. I and other sensitives on one of my websites, Earthquake Epicenter Forum, where we all predicted it almost to the very hour, to the very minute. So it really didn't surprise me. But that bear, I believe that it got disoriented because of the changes of the magnetic field, and that could go back to the honeybees, where a lot of people think that the honeybees may be getting disoriented because of changes in the electromagnetic.
Absolutely.
I almost included that in the book, but then I thought, oh no, I'll get way out there, and some people will think.
But it's not way out there, because we have so much evidence from the microwave towers and the damage they're doing to cell phones. So.
And then also go back to those strange, remember when the blackbirds all fell out of the sky on New Year's Eve in Arkansas, and they all just died? And then that was a huge mystery. Nobody knows really why they died. They were saying that it was the fireworks. I never heard that before.
I don't believe that.
I know.
They think we're stupid when they make those announcements.
I know. And then they were saying chemtrails, and then they were blaming it on HAARP. And I mean, it's kind of moving up the food chain. The animals, if it's getting the birds, maybe the same thing that killed them killed the bees. But what's different here is that when these bees go AWOL, nobody finds them. We don't see them dead. That's what's spooky and mysterious. With those blackbirds, we saw their carcasses. We don't see that with the honeybees that are victims of CCD, colony collapse.
But maybe it doesn't all happen at the same time when they're all in their colonies. Maybe it's this one here and this one there.
Yeah, but nobody even finds them here and there. That's the deal. The beekeepers just, their colonies are gone. They don't see the dead honeybees on site.
That's weird. What do you think about that?
I think it's really sad. I remember back months ago in it was in Florida. They showed a beekeeper, made national news. He was holding he was holding dead bees in his hands, all over his hands, just tons and tons of bees. And it wasn't colony collapse disorder. Get this, it was pesticides.